Fight commentary breakdowns here. I'm here with Axel. And Axel's the one with the man bun. He's teaching Rob how to do some triangles. So Axel, from my understanding, this is a front triangle, right?
Yeah, so there are many, many types of triangles. Mm-hmm. Most people will call the front triangle the triangle.
The triangle. Mm-hmm.
And that's because it's the most common triangle. It's arguably the best triangle in the sport of jiu-jitsu.
I see.
So that's not a surprise that most people only know this one. But once you start learning other triangles, it's useful to have terms to differentiate everything else.
I see.
And this triangle is done by using the back of your hamstring to choke one of the carotid arteries, and then you're going to use the support leg to lock a triangle, and it's going to push the arm into the neck and choke off the other artery.
I see. So in this case, your main leg is your left in this example, and your support leg is your right leg.
Yeah, the support leg for a front triangle is going to be the one that's behind the arm, and the strangle leg is going to be the one that's directly on the neck.
Makes sense.
And every triangle is going to be a little different with which leg is the primary strangle leg and the primary support leg.
I see. Wow, very tight.
Yeah, the way you make this choke extremely tight is by taking out the arm from the choke. If you have the shoulder inside the choke, which Rob here, I'm explaining to him, when you have the shoulder inside the choke, you need longer legs to lock it up in the first place. And it also makes the choke not quite as tight because there's more muscles and strength involved into it.
I see.
For the other guy's able to resist it more.
Oh, look at that. No space at all.
When you take the shoulder out, even if you have shorter legs, once you get that angle and you take the shoulder out of the lock, you're going to be able to lock up that triangle even with shorter legs.
Wow. That's so interesting. So now...
This is still going to be a front triangle.
I see.
And the way you're going to finish a front triangle is once you get that shoulder out of the lock, which right here you can see that I have it in. And I have longer legs, so I can still put it in. But even for someone like me, it's not going to be as tight of a triangle.
Oh, I see.
As soon as I get it out, it's going to make it twice as tight. It's kind of a crazy difference.
I see.
And the way you finish it is by squeezing your knees together and pointing your feet in the same direction. If you point your feet in the opposite direction, like I was showing there, you're going to have a looser hold. The actual space in the lock is going to be much looser.
Yeah, I see.
Versus when I point them in the same direction, it tightens everything up.
Wow.
And now you just bring your heels towards your butt. A back heel action, and it's going to finish the choke.
So now this is a different type of triangle.
This is going to be the opposite triangle. And in an opposite triangle, the leg that's under the arm is going to become the primary strangle leg.
I see.
This choke is an advanced triangle, mainly because the movement is fairly difficult for a beginner to do. You have to really invert.
I see. A lot of core strength, right?
You just have to be able to move your hips around your opponent. Once you drop your knee directly underneath his armpit and his chest, which this is still the front triangle.
Yeah, so this is still the front triangle. This is just, again, Axel kind of just explaining to Rob, and we'll see in detail again the pinching of the knees and the pointing of the legs and kind of the same. Yeah, so here showing again.
So once I want to take my knee underneath his chest of the primary strangle leg, which is going to be the right knee in this case, and I'm going to get into a kind of north-south position where my thigh can block his head from popping out. I'm going to pull my shin down so it's no longer on the shoulder and it's on the tricep instead. And now I'm simply going to try to close my legs so that my hamstring is going to push against his neck. And basically that primary strangle leg is going to do the job of both cutting out with direct pressure on the other side with my hamstring and then also blocking off the shoulder with my shin. So it does it does the job of the strangle with both sides of the leg, and then the other leg is simply to lock up the triangle and to keep him from popping his head out.
Makes sense. Rob is gonna try I'm gonna say it right, the reverse triangle.
Opposite.
Triangle. Oh, I still got it wrong. Yeah, the opposite triangle on Axel.
Right here I'm showing him why the opposite triangle is even necessary. Why do we even need to use it?
I see.
Well, if you only know the front triangle, you can use the defense that I'm showing right here, where I open up the space between my neck and my shoulder, and I drive my shoulder towards his head and stack him.
Oh.
And I deny him the angle for the regular triangle.
I see. So we're going to
eventually be able to either get my posture or pull my head out of the lock and force an omoplata or something like that, but as long as I can deny him the angle, he's not going to be able to finish the front triangle.
I see. Because what you're doing here, from my understanding, you're preventing that arm from being used to strangle you.
Yeah,
right? Your right arm.
I'm reverse engineering the triangle, the front triangle. So the front triangle requires an angle towards the strangle side, and to underhook the leg. And to compress the shoulder into the neck. And I'm doing the exact opposite of that. So you need an opposite triangle to be able to go in the direction that I'll be giving him now.
Wow, I see.
So now he's switching his legs. And for him to finish it, he would need to really invert. And it's kind of a complicated movement that we need to show him at some point.
Exactly. So
now
here, you're showing.
Once I invert and I get my knee under his chest, then I can go for a triangle. Now, I think right here I'm about to show that if I can't get that good knee position, I can instead go for a Kimura. And this Kimura is extremely tight because I'm controlling his head and his shoulders. And there's so much space. There's no floor blocking his arm, so I can really crank on that shoulder. And
I see.
A pretty nasty position. And then now the last triangle in this category is going to be the rear triangle. It's called a rear triangle because I'm behind the guy. And I'm going to put my calf on one side of his neck, and then my inner thigh is going to be on his tricep, and I'm just going to flex my ankle and weigh down my inner thigh onto his arm, and that's going to finish the choke.
I see.
This choke is mostly done from the back position or when you're trying to take someone's back. You can also get into it from an armbar position. But most of the time you're going to see it from someone taking the back of someone else. And they're trying to escape by scooting their hips downwards.
I see.
And this is my personal favorite setup for it, where I'm going to get a cross grip, step the leg over, drive it behind his back. And I'm going to try and go for a rear naked, but he's going to scoot downwards.
Which is a common escape, right?
It's one way that some people will try to run away from a rear naked, but it will set up the rear triangle if he does that. So I'm going to press him away with my legs so he doesn't come on top of me. And then I'm going to point my legs, put it behind his back, scoot down so his shoulder's not in my lock. Then I'm going to flex my ankle, weigh my thigh down, and there's the tap.
Wow.
And sometimes you don't get the choke. You know, sometimes it's just not quite there. So you have all these arm variations to go after. You can go for an arm bar, wrist lock, reverse arm bar. Here, if he turns his arm out to avoid the arm bar, I can go for an Americana.
Wow.
And then finally a Kimura lock. So it's not a great place to chill.
I see.
You get choked or your arm broken.
I see.
And here I'm showing Rob how to do that choke. So he's going to... We're kind of finagling around with the grips. Once he gets to the top seat belt, he's gonna push down with the cross grip. Trap my leg. He's gonna put it behind my back, and then I'm gonna have him push me to the other side.
I see.
And hold my arm so I can't pull it down. If I can pull my arm down, then I can start resisting either the lockup, completely preventing the lockup of the legs, or just at least resist the choke by pushing my arm into the thighs. So the arm control is super important.
I see.
And right here, you could also go for an armbar.
Yeah.
It's not the only option, but it's my personal favorite option. Because I'd rather go for a choke than a joint lock, personally.
Makes sense.
And then from here, he's going to point his legs in the opposite direction. Lock his legs up. And see, if he does not control my arm, I could push against his thigh here. So it's important for him to keep that arm glued to his chest at all times.
Yeah, makes sense.
I think right here I'm just letting him kind of feel what the choke is like, and he's going to weigh his thigh down, and that's going to put the choke on.
Wow. So Axel, how many different types of triangles are there?
There are 5 different triangles, and we just went over the 3 triangles that belong to category A. The reason why we have categories for triangles is that you can switch between triangles within a category. I can go from this rear triangle to a front triangle or to an opposite triangle. However, I can't go to a triangle that belongs in the category B's, which we're about to look at. Category B triangles are going to be your side triangles and your reverse triangles. The side triangle is super common in judo. You can get it from a lot of Kimura type of positions. You can get it from turtle when someone's on a single leg. And I think we're about to go into that next. And the reverse triangle, you can get it from the bottom of side control even, or someone's passing a guard. You can get it from on top of side control, from the top side crucifix. They're a lot less common. You're not going to see them very often. And everybody has different names for all these triangles. Some people call the reverse triangle an inverted triangle. Some people call the rear triangle the reverse triangle. It's there's all these different names. This is just the ones I learned, and I've watched a lot of John Danaher's materials, and so I'm using his terminology for most of this. But the category B triangles are not that common. They work well, but they're not as huge to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. They're more common, especially in judo.
I see.
The A triangles are probably going to be the things that you're going to want to practice the most as a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy, and spend the most time in. But the category B triangles are really powerful too. Very useful. And the reverse triangle might even be the tightest triangle you can possibly do if you do it properly. It's just a little hard to get.
I see. Okay, so let's watch some of the category B triangles.
So super common situation, especially in judo. They're not allowed to go for single legs, but you might throw someone on the ground and then you end up in turtle. Here I'm just showing it off of a single leg situation.
I see.
You're going to break them down and pull them over. It's going to look a little awkward just because we don't have that much mat space here, but we're going to start scooting over to the side so I can go back to the center of the camera.
I see.
From here, I'm just going to grab a Kimura lock, and then I'm going to let go of it so I can invert my legs and cross my legs over.
Wow.
This triangle, like I said before, is super common from turtle, and you can use it as a counter to people locking their hands together in the Kimura if you can get one of their arms trapped in between your legs. And it's a great way to set up the Kimura itself, because then people are going to start letting go of their hands to defend this choke, and they can go back to the Kimura. And there's even some wrist locks. You can go from there too.
I see.
So here I'm just going to push his head down in between my legs and isolate one arm and his head in between my legs, which is all triangles are going to start off with this basic requirement that I trap an opponent's head and one arm in between my legs.
Wow. And of course, because of mat space, you guys scoot back to the middle.
And from here, I'll lock up a Kimura just to hold him in place, and then once I feel comfortable, I'm going to switch my legs. so I can position them better.
Mm-hmm.
And lock my legs up.
I see. Wow.
All right, so now we got the last triangle variation, the fifth one from category B. It's going to be the reverse triangle. This triangle you can get from top of the top side crucifix, which is my favorite one. You're going to be in side control. Push the leg, push their arm in between your legs, rather. You're going to push their head down so you can step over. And then I like to grab the arm so I can position my knee in a better position right next to his neck.
I see.
I want as much as possible to have the back of my knee by its carotid artery and not by the back of his head.
I see.
This, when you have the proper positioning, is one of the tightest chokes that you can really do.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And from top side control, you can use it to land some pretty nasty ground and pound. You see Khabib do that quite a bit. And you can get this choke from bottom of side control. You can get it from bottom of half guard, usually from Z guard. A bunch of different positions you can get it from. It's probably the rarest triangle in jiu-jitsu.
Wow. And is it rare because it's just not trained enough, or is it rare because there's a lot of counters to it, or something in between?
I think that most people try to experiment with this from the bottom of side control, and that's a pretty rough place to try and tap people out from.
I see.
From bottom of side control, it's whenever somebody's got their arm in between your two legs and the dude tries to push your head in between their legs. Most people don't know the correct positioning of the knee, so it ends up just being kind of like a neck crank, and nobody really taps to that. They end up going north-south and pulling their head out.
I see.
And people kind of just give up on it from there. I think it's mainly just people aren't very familiar with it, so it's not used that much.
Makes sense. So, Axel, if people wanted to ask you questions or something, how would they find you?
Well, they can find me on Instagram as the Godfather, Axel Gibson. You can just search that in Instagram, and I can let you know how to choke people with your legs.
Yeah, and I will put that link in the description and pinned comments. On top of that, guys, Axel's at Uprise MMA. So if any of you in Los Angeles want to train at Uprise after all this is over, the lockdown, just check out uprisemma.com. And you guys can meet Kyle and a bunch of other people. Sean McDonald's been on the channel, and of course Axel.
All right, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Axel. This was Fight Commentary Breakdowns.